The most dangerous lie in modern finance is that freedom comes from becoming a hero. Because heroes don't scale, and systems that need heroes quietly fail everyone else. I am Lady T, in for Citizen T. Here's the promise, a real specific win. Not a fantasy, not an escape story. You don't need to outrun the system to beat it. You don't need to become famous, feral, or exceptional. You need ownership that compounds while you live your life. This is how we win. Let's say the quiet part out loud. We are drowning in advice that only works if you radically transform yourself. Quit your job, flip a business, rewire your mindset, become unrecognizable to everyone who depended on you. Some of the loudest voices say this proudly. Gary Vee tells you to work harder and be comfortable being uncomfortable. Grant Cardone tells you to go bigger, louder, leverage to the max, always. Tim Ferriss tells you to optimize your life until you can escape it. And to be fair, some of them are successful, individually. That's the tell. Because when advice only works for the few who make it through, it isn't a system. It's survivor bias with good lighting. If everyone followed that guidance at once, it would collapse. Too many people trying to exit, too few real assets to buy. Too much risk pushed onto individuals who can't absorb failure. That's not empowerment, that's musical chairs with podcasts. This is where working class hero steps in, and not as nostalgia, but as diagnosis. John Lennon wasn't praising grit, he was warning us. The song walks a listener through a life, conditioning, discipline, compliance, competition. And at the end of that process, the system crowns a hero. That word is the trap. Because the hero doesn't change the system, the hero proves how much a human can endure and still function. It's not celebration, it's indictment. Working class hero is about a society that mistakes survival for success. That reframes damage as virtue, that calls endurance merit. That points to the few who escape and uses them as proof that nothing needs fixing. That didn't end in the 1970s. It rebranded. Today, we sell escape stories instead of factory floors. Endure more, optimize harder, take bigger risks, become someone else. If you fail, you didn't want it badly enough. If you succeed, you become the example. The system stays unquestioned. Here's the uncomfortable truth beneath all this. A system that needs heroes is admitting it cannot deliver outcomes for normal people. Healthy systems don't depend on brilliance. They assume average behavior and still produce stability. That's not ideology, that's engineering. And we already know this principle works, because capital markets solved it. Let's talk about the Vanguard thesis. Vanguard didn't beat the investing world by being smarter. It beat the world by changing the rules. The insight was simple, and it was brutal. Markets, in aggregate, are a zero-sum game before costs. After fees, friction, taxes, and mistakes, most active effort loses. Not because effort is bad, but because costs compound against humans. So Vanguard asked a different question. What if we stop trying to be exceptional? What if we remove heroics from the equation? What if we build a system that works for normal people behaving normally? The answer became index investing. Own everything, pay almost nothing, don't trade constantly. Stay invested through cycles. Let time do the work, no charisma, no predictions, no escape narrative. Boring and devastatingly effective, that approach didn't just win, it scaled to tens of millions of participants. And trillions of dollars. Not because people became smarter, but because the system was forgiving. That's the Vanguard thesis in plain terms. Systems that assume human behavior outperform systems that demand heroism. That's the part the gurus don't like talking about. Because once a system works without you being special, the guru economy collapses. Now bring that insight into work. Here's one term you need to hear once. Ownership-based pay, OBP. Ownership-based pay means that part of your compensation is ownership, not applause, not motivation. Not a maybe bonus, ownership. When value grows, you participate. When the enterprise compounds, so do you. That's not socialism. That's not charity. That's incentive alignment. A quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. Use this as perspective, not instruction, and always do your own research. Back to reality. OBP does not appear everywhere overnight. Structural change is slow, uneven, often unfair. Some companies will resist it, some leaders will never offer it, some industries will lag for decades. Citizen T doesn't deny any of that. Citizen T prepares people anyway. Because waiting for perfect systems is a luxury most working people don't have. This is where Citizen T separates from the guru class. The gurus didn't fail, they just stopped where scale gets uncomfortable. They show you how someone wins. They never show you how millions do. They celebrate exits. They ignore floors. They sell ladders. They never ask why the ground is cracked. Citizen T works below the surface, where incentives either align or quietly rot everything they touch. This is why working class hero still matters. It reminds us that calling survival a virtue doesn't make suffering necessary. It reminds us that praising endurance isn't the same as building dignity. And it reminds us that if success requires becoming exceptional, the problem is not weak people, it's weak design. Citizen T is post-hero, not anti-success, not anti-ambition, just done pretending. That everyone needs to burn themselves down to deserve stability. Citizen T assumes people get tired. People make mistakes, people don't want to reinvent themselves forever, so the system should work anyway. Here's where agency comes back to you. You cannot control markets. You cannot control how fast companies change. You cannot control when policy catches up, but you can control 3 things: participation, cost, time. Participate where you can, broadly, not cleverly, reduce friction and unnecessary risk. Stay in long enough for compounding to matter. These aren't slogans, they're levers. This applies in markets, it applies at work, it applies over decades. Ownership that compounds beats motivation that burns out. That's not exciting, it's durable. This is how we win. Not with escapes, not with personalities, not with constant reinvention, but with systems that keep working even when you're tired, distracted, or human. If this grounded way of thinking resonates, if you're done with hype and ready for durability, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Stay unheroic, stay invested, stay in the game. We are Citizen T, forge the future. OBP is the way.